shit's gone sideways.
All right, I am back in the studio with Andrew Truong.
How you going, bro?
Did I get your name correctly?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the money.
I was like, thank God. I said it with such confidence. I was like, fuck, what if I fucked it up? Thanks for coming in, man.
Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here, bro.
So, yeah, we're kind of connected because I started following you off the back of your work that you do with ConFit and with Joe. And obviously I've already had Joe and Kaiser from ConFit involved on the show. And it seemed like you would be a great fit to come in and talk about your story.
Oh, bro, happy to be here. I'm sure you've already seen a little bit about my story, but it's kind of similar. My jail journey was actually very similar to Joe's, even though it was very different to his upbringing.
Yeah,
I'd say, even very, very similar to Kaiser's. I mean, we kind of had like the same training, and the same kind of self-development throughout jail.
It seems like there's a common theme there for guys that are associated with ConFit, that you've found your redemption or your pathway through fitness. That's kind of a commonality that you guys share.
Yeah, I think it was when like you guys kind of like, that quote, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yep.
Yeah, I really felt that when I met these boys, and it's like, how did we all go through the same thing and have the same kind of mindset, but we were completely different like lives? Really.
That must feel really cool though, right?
Yeah.
To find your tribe.
Yeah.
People that have gone through shit and that you resonate with, they're also driven on this positive path that you also want to be on yourself.
Well, it's funny. I didn't actually meet Joe inside jail, but I've always known about Joe when I was inside jail.
Okay, so how did that work? People would talk about that he already was running a program.
No. So me and Joe kind of like got out roughly about the same time.
Yeah, okay.
And every jail that I went to, Joe had just been there.
So he left a reputation there, and then you'd come.
Exactly. And every time I went to a jail, the boys would be like, "Hey, bro, do you have a brother?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm only child."
Yeah.
And they're like, "I swear you remind me exactly of this guy. Joe Kwan, have you heard of Joe Kwan?" I'm like, "Nah, I haven't heard of Joe Kwan." Like literally every single jail that I went to.
And by the fifth one, you're like, "Stop talking to me about this fucking Joe Kwan guy."
You know what was funny? Even towards the end when I got out, the work release place that I got to, Joe worked at the same place.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And they're like, "Bro, you remind me of Joe Kwan." And I'm like,
so it was already on the cards that you guys were eventually going to have to meet. You're going to go.
Exactly.
I've never met you, but I know a lot about you.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like we had kind of like the similar idea of like when we got out to kind of like use our jail experience to like be in the fitness industry.
Yep.
And I saw his page, and all my mates that I knew from inside were already his mates. Yeah. I followed him. He followed me back, and then he's like, he messaged me and was like, "Hey, bro, you have a lot of mutuals with me, huh?"
Yeah. And you were like, "Finally." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, finally, bro. We finally got to conversate, talk, connect, link up." And then
And I mean, you guys both had a similarity, and you both had an idea to use your jail experience and fitness as a business. And so his was ConFit and yours one out training, right?
Yeah.
Which is for anyone that knows anything about jail, right? What does one out mean?
Well, for me, one out was kind of like being independent.
Yeah.
So when I really started training in jail, luckily I'd say my first year of serious training, I had a really good group of people around me, a good group of boys that I was always training with.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had to really dig deep when I left Oberon to go back to Dawn Delois for work release. Like when you go to, I say, a minimum security jail, you don't know who is, I'd say, a snitch or a pedo because you're mixed in with minimum security. Yeah. And that's how they kind of like mix minimum security people with back into the main population.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anyone. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to talk to anyone. That way I can kind of just do my time and get out.
Yeah.
Don't have to speak to anyone, don't have to conversate with anyone, just train on my own. And I figured out that I really had to dig deep into my mindset about like just showing up for myself. Because it's real easy when all the boys are training with you. Like when I was at Oberon, it was like easy. If I was having a bad day, the boys would pull me up.
They'd motivate you.
Yeah, let's train, bro. Let's go train. It's like we'd all turn up at the same time. We'd all be training on the same wavelength. But it's very hard to do that when you're on your own. Like when you wake up, you feel like shit. Like I could miss out on a day. No one's going to scream at me.
Yep.
Yeah, and then when I learned to train on my own, be more independent and become like one out, I thought, you know what, that's going to be my fitness philosophy when I get out, and I teach people how to train on their own without needing like people to support them.
Yep. Well, so from my knowledge, whenever I heard the term one out, that meant like guys who had a one out cell, right? So one out means didn't have to have any cellies. Two out, you just got there's two guys in a cell. I mean, I only had the luxury of having a one out cell for a couple of weeks. It's pretty nice, Not having a shit or fucking have a snoring celly or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so that's cool. What made you go from at Oberon you were training with guys, but then the shift to only wanting to just be on your own? Was that you didn't know who these guys were, so you were a bit wary? Yeah,
well, I heard a lot of bad things. Like when you go to a C3 jail or even C2 jails, you don't know who. I'd say like what they like everyone's charges. You can't go asking the whole wing what their charges are.
Yeah,
and I thought, well, the best thing I could do is just not talk to anyone.
Yep.
Just do my own thing. If anyone wants to see my own briefs, I can show them my briefs. But yeah, and when I kind of looked at the population of the people, I'm like, oh.
You're a bit sus?
Yeah, I was very sus on a lot of people.
Yeah,
I was very sus on a lot of people. I'm like, and then I hear rumors about different people too. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, every place I was at, there was the Boneyard, right, which was separated, so you knew that if you're in the mainstream wing, that you're probably okay, unless then.
Well, they never last long in the main. Yeah. And then when you go from like the main population, so I was at Bathurst for a good year and a bit, and I was so used to the main population, and when I finally got my C1, C2, started mixing in with C1, C2 inmates. But even then, C1, C2 inmates, if you were from the Boneyard, you wouldn't last long anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't last long anyway. But when you get to C3, it's like, well, everyone's just so close to home that they just want to, they want their weekend leave, their day leave. So
they're less likely to risk starting drama, even if there's someone undesirable in there. Okay?
Yeah.
They're like, this guy makes me sick, but I'm also just at the fucking finish line, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Okay. And it was just like, and that was the same thing that was going through my head. I go, oh my God, I have to deal with these people. Best thing to do with dealing with these people is just not even talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I only spoke to the boys that I knew from Oberon, and then by extension, whoever they said was good. Yeah, I only spoke to those boys.
People that they vouched for.
Yeah.
So it was a very small circle.
Yeah, very small circle. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I still said like if most people, I wouldn't even say hi unless they say hi to me first, and then that was it. I wouldn't let the conversation go any further than that because I just didn't want to create a bond and then find out, oh, this person's a piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I had that experience of a guy that I got to know and was pretty close with at Long Bay. He had told everyone that he was in there because he killed a bloke that had touched his kid, and so everyone was like, okay, that's all right. But it wasn't until when I looked him up when I got out, he'd just slit his partner's throat, and it was just brutal, and I was like, fuck, it made me pretty sick.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know who people are based on what they tell you,
Yeah, even then, so based off what people tell you, you don't find out until you see it on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah. See it on the news yourself, or you read their brief.
Yeah.
So that bloke at the Bay, his news never went on the news.
No, not that I know of. No.
You know how actually you wouldn't have gone to see, but because I did half my time in maximum security.
Yep.
Every time someone went to court, you'd wait for
the news story.
The news story. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be watching. You'd be hanging out in your cell that night. And you'd be watching the news. You'd be like,
that did happen to me at Long Bay one day. I was walking for an AVL, a video chat with my lawyer, and a guy was going to court on screen, and I've been staring at the back of his head all day.
Yeah.
And then he was on TV that night, and but his face was blurred out, but they showed the back of his head, and I was like, I've been looking at the back of that head all day. and it was about him getting sentenced for bashing and robbing the elderly.
Yeah.
And everyone, you could hear everyone in this wing like yelling out his name. Everyone knew, like, include on.
Yeah.
And then the next day he got moved straight away.
He would have been spewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd been in that yard for like a year and was like popular. He was a sweeper. And then but obviously he lied about his charges because no one knew that he'd like bashed and robbed old ladies.
Yeah, well, you know, there was a couple of them I remember inside like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, they're just not really good people, bro. Like,
No.
just try to stay away. But no one gets caught out until the
news story. Yeah.
until the news story comes out.
Yeah, well, you'd think, that there'd be a couple, like, I've heard stories of screws, that know the story and then, like, that tip someone off, particularly if it's something really putrid, particularly if, for something about kids or something like that.
That's always happened. I remember they done that to a sweeper when I was at Bathurst too.
Yeah.
Same thing. Next thing you know, a man was gone.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you got there, right? So let's
Yeah.
So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in the Liverpool area, Green Valley, Busby.
Yeah, so Western Sydney.
Yeah, Western Sydney. I went to James Busby High School, and pretty much throughout my high school years, like I had a pretty good family. Like my mum and dad were still together at the time.
You got any siblings?
Nah, just myself.
Only child. Yep.
Only child. But my parents, like immigrant family, they always worked.
Yep.
And
what do they do?
they worked in a factory
Yep.
at the time. It was when Red Lee used to be around. Red Lee Chicken. You ever heard of Red Lee Chicken?
Yep.
Yeah, they used to work there, and like they'd be at work slaving away all day for a wage, and then all the money that they made, they'd put it through to like extra studies for like tutoring, because Asians very big on tutoring.
Yeah.
Very, very big on tutoring.
Were you a good student?
Depends. It depends if I applied myself. So, it was a funny story. I went back to my old school last week
Yeah.
as a part of the ConFit team, just to talk to like the troubled kids there. And I saw all my teachers again.
Oh, wow.
And I was apologizing to all my teachers.
You're like,
Yeah.
sorry I wasted all that education. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
did it feel cool to be able to go back now and in that capacity?
It was, it felt really good. I'd say it was actually one of the happiest days of my life this year.
That's cool.
Yeah, and like I saw my English teacher and I was just like to Miss, I'm so sorry I slept in that last year. I literally slept every single class. She's like, I don't remember you sleeping. I'm like, of course, because I was out cold.
Did they have anything nice to say to you?
Yeah, you know what? They said, I don't know why you, like, every time we see, like, students from the past, they always apologize to us. But we already understand, we know that you guys are kids. And it is what it is. Like, we just try to help you.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no, you don't have to apologize for it. Like, they only have good memories too. So, yeah.
So you're there. What as like almost like it's a positive message, but also a cautionary tale, right? Don't end up like me.
Yeah, you know what? I was telling the kids all these stories. Yeah, so like I would tell them, look, my parents used to put so much money into tutoring, and what happened? I failed my year 12. I was supposed to repeat, but I thought, yeah, fuck this, I'm going to TAFE. That's where. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to TAFE, man. I didn't want the shame of repeating. And I couldn't tell my parents I was repeating too.
Oh, what? So they didn't know that you failed?
I still told them nothing.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so you know what? And it would be very shameful in like the Asian community if your child repeated too.
Yeah.
Especially if they send you like to after school tutoring all the time.
So you're obviously smart, but you just weren't applying yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
I'd say that like the only thing I actually applied myself to throughout high school, and I remember in my last 2 years was 2-unit maths.
Yep.
I think I aced that.
Yep.
English I wasn't too bad too. Physics, chemistry, and biology. I don't know why I thought I could do all three sciences. I don't know why, because I failed miserably with a non-attempt for chemistry and physics.
Yeah. They're hard. You know? Yeah, I failed physics too, yeah.
I had no idea quantum physics.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought I could do it, but yeah.
But 2-unit maths.
That's the look for 2-unit maths at my school. There was only like 10 students doing
Surely
it.
you're Asian. You wouldn't be expected to be doing at least 3-unit, 4-unit.
There was no one in my year group doing 4-unit.
Yeah.
And there was like 3 people doing 3-unit.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that much. But 2-unit, there was like 10 of us. So I thought, all right, you know, I'm doing all right for my U group.
Yeah. So fuck. So I mean, how do you keep a secret that you failed high school from your parents?
You know what? Because Asian parents are so at work,
Yeah.
and all they need to know is just see your grades and see that you're somewhat doing something at home.
Yeah.
And because I'm on the computer all the time, oh yeah, mum, I'm studying.
Yeah.
Alt tab, alt tab, computer games, alt tab. Yeah, that's what I was basically doing the whole time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I failed. And then because like throughout the end of high school, because my parents weren't paying so much attention to me, I think I got like caught up in like the social side of like meeting and hanging out with people at parties all the time.
Yep.
And then when school finished, I still kept my relationships with a lot of people from school. Uni happened, and then I just created like more friendship groups, and I just became more involved in different groups.
Yep.
And then, you know, when at that beginning of uni where everyone's just going out clubbing a lot, and at that time it was clubbing and the raving scene.
Yep. So a lot of drugs.
Yeah, a lot of drugs. We got involved into a lot of drugs.
And so you were at TAFE at this point?
Yeah, I was at TAFE at this point.
What were you studying there?
My HSC.
Oh.
To get my HSC.
Yeah.
To get into uni.
Okay.
And you know what? I realized this when I was telling the kids the other day. I wasted so much time because I had no goals. I was just doing it because they were my parents' goals, really. They weren't really my goals. My parents wanted me to go to uni and get a job and all that. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do that.
It wasn't something you were passionate about. It wasn't a driving force for you. Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought like my decision at the time when I was at TAFE was to go to uni to become a primary school teacher. And it wasn't even because I wanted to, like I was passionate about it. It was because I thought, school holidays, teaching kids. How hard could it possibly be?
So you thought lots of breaks and it's relatively easy. Is that what?
That's what I was thinking. And because there was a demand in male primary school teachers.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought, I'll get a job, easy. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to go to uni for. Went to uni. Eventually I got my HC. Went to uni. And I was third year into uni, but meanwhile I was partying a lot, and just that's when I got into drug dealing.
Yep. So what were you selling?
So I started off with pills.
Yep.
And then I moved into something more consistent with weed, because with pills it was just during festival season, really.
Yeah.
Festival season you'd sell out heaps, and then for the rest of the year you were dry. So I started selling a bit more weed to get a more consistent income.
Yep.
And then. Funny story, I got arrested for so the cops hit my house up. So I got what's it called? Raided. Yeah, that's the word I was trying to
You
find.
raided your parents' place.
Yeah, my parents' place.
Yeah,
I got raided,
fuck.
and they didn't find nothing, fortunately. But what they found was a fake gun. It was a BB gun, but it was like metal, like heavy, like the real thing.
It looked pretty real.
Yeah. And they arrested me for that, but they found it in my parents' room because my parents found it in my room and they confiscated it off me. They're like, "Why you this? Taking it off you." So my parents were doing something right, and that was kind of my loophole to get me bail out.
Yeah.
Because my parents actually done the right thing and taken it off me. It wasn't actually in my possession.
Yeah.
So I went inside for a bit, and then I came out, and then I didn't really learn my lesson after being a week in, and then
How did you find it when you were in there? Were you scared? Were you worried?
I was actually like, because it was my first time in, I was actually scared.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that, you remember, did you go through Darcy or did you go through Park Lee?
I went through Park Lee.
Okay, you'd never been to Darcy. So Darcy's like the horrors. I don't know why. It's a great place to scare people first off, but it doesn't help that it gets real comfortable real quickly after that.
Is it Silverwater?
Yeah, Silverwater. Yeah, Silverwater.
Yeah.
So in Darcy, it's the transit where everyone comes through to get processed. But there was just cockroaches and cockroaches over the wall that night. Like I remember I got led into my cell. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I could see the orange light through the window, and against like the orange light would just show me all the cockroaches are on the wall.
Fuck.
And then I
That's
remember,
rough.
it was rough, and it was just so chat. And I remember I looked at the shower, and it was just like mold and rust everywhere. Like, this is what I have to live with.
Yeah.
And I remember not sleeping that night. And I remember I was just talking with my celly all night, and he was just telling me, it was a Koori bloke, and he was just telling me, bro, just don't come back to jail, man. This place is not for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. But it didn't help that the next day I got moved to the another wing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Asian boys started looking after me, and I looked around the wing and I'm like, oh, but this is clean and tidy. This is not bad. I can live here. Yeah, I can live here. I can do my time here. And then I got out, and then I got into selling heroin. That's when like I kind of got like real into serious like drug dealing.
What made it? You're doing pills and weed, which you know seems like to then jump to heroin is quite a jump, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever use heroin?
No, I never used heroin.
Yeah. Well, then I mean, I was selling mushrooms, acid, MDMA, ketamine, cocaine, but there's ones that I never would have touched, like meth and heroin, because I just thought that they were fucked. You know, what was it that made it comfortable in your head to go, okay, we're gonna upgrade here to the big leagues?
So I guess it was kind of like opportunity meets, I'd say opportunity meets like, I wouldn't say I was like fully staunch at that age. Yeah. But it was like someone that I knew was saying to his mates, "God, you know, I got a friend who just got out, and he seems like, you know, he's staunch. He doesn't snitch. Yeah. He'll be all right to bring him on board because they needed a runner." Yep. And then I got introduced to the right people, and then I started running for him. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll make money like this. This is what I'm going to do now."
So how did that customer base come about? Because obviously it's not exactly the same clientele as the people that you were selling the weed and the pingers to, right? Because you can't be like, oh, I've got no more pills at the moment, but have you considered heroin?
So I was given a run phone, and I was absolutely shocked. Yeah. So I went from, you know, dealing with my people. Yep. And then what kind of like made it okay in my head was that because it was past the time of remember like the big Cabramatta heroin drug trade was like in the 90s, it was full fucked.
Booming. Yeah,
it was full booming. Mm-hmm. And then when I started dealing, it was what 2010-ish. Mm-hmm. And by then it would have died down. It was a big ice epidemic then. And I would say that at that time when I started dealing, it was more so like these guys have been using for the past 15, 20 years. Yeah, okay. And it was not so much as if they were trying to harm people. They just needed it to get through their day. Yeah. Like they'd go to work like normal people, but they just needed their hit of heroin at the end of the day.
They were like functional addicts. Yeah. And they were already addicts that you were justifying in your head because you're like, I'm not getting these people hooked. They're already hooked.
Exactly. And like I was honestly just given a run phone and just running it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't leading people into their first heroin experience.
Nah. That would have been too much for me to handle at the time. But that's what kept me, like, I'd say sane. Yep. But it was like,
and you're also thinking like, if it's not me, these people are gonna fucking be buying it off someone else. I might as well make the cash.
Well, exactly. That, you know, that's the funny thing. Like when I was given bad product, they would have gone somewhere else. They would have rang up another dealer anyway. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh, fuck, I've got to find the best product on the market to sell to these guys. Someone else is going to make the money. Yeah. Yeah, because they're hooked on it anyway.
It's weird how you can have that sense of pride in product, right? With anything, right? But with drugs, you're like, fuck, if I'm going to be selling heroin, I've got to make sure I've got the best gear to sell.
Exactly. And you know what? That taught me real good principles to have, like leading into my personal training business, you know, good quality.
There are so many good business principles that you can get out of drug dealing if you just apply those for good instead of bad, you know, instead of breaking the law. I see that all the time. There's so many guys you see in jail that if they just use their skills, the entrepreneurial mindset for any other thing, they'd probably be successful, but they've just chosen to do crime, right?
Yeah, well, you know, it's at the time it was seen as easy money. Yeah. And it's, I'd say, portrayed in the media with all the rappers and that to look cool and stuff. So I thought
glorified.
Yeah, it's glorified. Yeah. But as I got older and I realized, you know what, man, these entrepreneurs, they can make it from nothing. I can do it too. And I guess that's what's given me like the drive.
So I saw you talk somewhere about like you were making shitloads of cash, but you were wasting it as well. What were you spending it on?
I was honestly just spending on non-stop karaoke.
What?
Karaoke.
What the fuck?
Karaoke. I know. Karaoke at the clubs, wine on tables.
How much money are you spending on karaoke?
You know what's funny?
Like a ding dong dang or something like that. You just like you got a gold pass.
Yeah, I'm not even joking.
What?
So like because at that time I was probably making the most money out of my mates.
Yeah.
I'd just pay for everything. So I'd be like, but I just wanted my mates to be with me, and I wanted all of us to have a good time. So I just any money that I'd make, I'd just throw it all off like on that night because I knew it was going to come back the next week.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like having a money tree, right?
Yeah,
It's just unlimited cash.
just picking on it every week.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I think I spent that on clubbing, bottles,
Yeah.
trying to impress girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you doing much drugs yourself?
To be honest, I did not do much coke at all. I probably still got off my head on pills during the raves.
Yeah.
But I was like during that time, honestly, the only thing I was doing was just eating a lot of junk food.
Well, I've seen photos from back then. You were quite you were bigger. You were a completely different shape, right?
Yeah, I had this routine.
Yeah.
Every morning, I will go to Hungry Jack's.
Fuck.
Big wrap, big brekkie wrap, get the hash brown inside, and then I also get the barbecue sauce, the barbecue plum sauce. I don't know, something about the barbecue plum sauce, but then I dip my wrap in that barbecue plum sauce every morning.
Every morning.
Every morning, that was my routine.
No wonder you got so big. Yeah. So how many years did that go for? A couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years until I got arrested because
And this was what, your early 20s?
early 20s.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'd say like because I didn't get arrested, I kind of thought I was like invincible a little bit, and I kind of like walked around thinking, it's just, I could just do the bare minimal and I wouldn't get caught.
Yep.
Yeah, and I never thought anyone was watching me or nothing, and I guess that's what was my downfall. Eventually I got watched, didn't know, and I kind of had things like all over the place at the house that I got raided at.
Yep.
And yeah, they were following me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a common story, right? You think that like the sky's never going to fall down, that it's just going to be good times forever.
Yeah, exactly. I got complacent. And yeah, but funny story, I could have actually avoided everything. Like I would have probably never went to jail, but I don't know if I would have turned my life around.
Yeah. Okay. You're saying if you had been smarter and got away and not get caught.
Yeah. So
you would have continued down a bad path and you never would have turned your life around?
Yeah, well, funny story, that morning that I got arrested, I was eating at the fish markets with a friend, and another friend called me, and he was calling me to warn me. But I thought he was calling me because we used to always play FIFA together, like during the day. And I thought he was just calling me to be annoying to have a game of FIFA.
Yeah.
And so I just ignored his call.
Yeah, fuck.
Okay, and then I went back to the place because he left the place and he got pulled over straight away.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then I got back to the place, and then I left the place that afternoon, and they were watching the place, and they followed me to the station. They searched me, and then they found stuff on me, and then they hit the house. Meanwhile, at the same time, my colleague at the time, he also got arrested that morning because he left the place and they got him.
Yep.
But he only had enough on him for possession, so they gave him bail from the station. And he had to run all the way back from Fairfield Station to the place. And as he was running back, it was roughly about the same time that I was getting arrested.
Yeah, okay.
So as I was getting arrested, he had to jump through all the houses at the back fences to get to our house. And then, because we were right next to, in between a preschool and a primary school. And he was in the sandpit box of the preschool, staring in through the gate, between the little holes in between the gates. And he was just watching them take things out of the house. And he was just sitting there going,
fuck. Yeah, I'm too late.
Yeah, he's too late. He's too late. So he could have saved us or saved me. But in a way, like where I am now, it wouldn't have happened unless I got arrested that day.
Yeah, I feel the same, that I wouldn't be on this path now if I didn't go to jail. So, yeah, it's a shitty situation that you go through, but then you look back at it and think maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
But, I think you're doing great things now, bro. You're getting stories out there. You're making people laugh. Yeah. It's, and before what were you doing? Like getting people down, really?
Man, I was just a fucking fat cokehead, sitting at home, like just living an empty life. So,
Yeah, we're creating more problems for society than fixing more problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so this you got arrested. They'd raided the house. They got you on fucking. What was the charges?
So they got me on commercial supply for fluoroamphetamine.
Yeah.
I had this this powder that I was just holding on to for a friend, and well, that was what gave me the commercial supply. I would have got away with just a possession charge, or just ice and heroin, just like I think like about an ounce, not much.
Yep.
And some cash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that fluoroamphetamine is what gave me the commercial supply. I probably should have got like maybe a year or two, but that fluoroamphetamine gave me 4 years because when I got to court, the judge classified that as an amphetamine, and because we were under that epidemic of ice epidemic at the time, it was like blown out of the waters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. So you didn't get done for heroin in a large way. It was the fluoroamphetamine.
Yeah, the fluoroamphetamine. So it was like my heroin ice charges were just running concurrent with the fluoroamphetamine. That was the big charge that gave me the 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But in a way, that 4 years, like in my first 2 years of jail, I did nothing. It was when I got sentenced, the second 2 years, I was like, all right, time to do something about my life.
Yeah. So wait, so the first few years, what was your case going on? You were in remand? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I feel you.
Yeah, so I was still on remand. I was at Bathurst for a year, and then I came back to Parkley and Windsor just before I got sentenced.
Is it harder? I've wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is it harder to do remand jail because it's just like the cloud hanging over you, or if you don't know like how long you're going to be in there for? Like there's no full finality to it.
I guess so. But this is what I learned. Like, let's say I go to jail again tomorrow for whatever reason. God forbid that I don't. But I would make use of my time knowing that the lessons that I've learned.
Yeah. Because
I learned that when you're on remand, there's genuinely you're around more good people. Like they always say, like time goes quick when you're around good boys. And then when towards the last 2 years, like I had good boys here and there, but they were very few good boys that I was around. But when you're at a remand jail, like pretty much everyone's like almost a good person. Most people are good people. And like the shitter the jail, the better the boys. I learned that. Now it was true everywhere I went.
Yeah, it brings out the best in people. Or
yeah,
what?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I really don't know what it is. Yeah, but like I'd say like so when in my first 2 years when I was at Bathurst, I was always around good boys, so I was always like relatively happy.
Yeah.
I never worried about anything. I always knew that the boys had my back, and I'd just get through the day playing cards or whatever, reading, just walking around, going to work, but the second 2 years, I guess, because everything was so good, like you get like food, meat buy up, day leaves, just like getting locked in really late into your cell. I guess that made people like softer. Yeah. Cause I felt like when you're in remand, the boys are a lot more tougher.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Why do you think that is? Just because of the environment, the rules are harsher. What?
I think so because like when you're in remand, as soon as let go happens, people out in the yard training all the way until they get locked in. So they make the most of their time.
They hammer it. Yeah.
Yeah, they hammer it. When it's in minimum security, it's not as much because you have so much time outside of your cell.
Yeah.
I think people kind of like just spread it out a little bit more. They're not urgent about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't give you another reason, really. Yeah.
I noticed that. Like at Long Bay, as soon as you get out in the yard, guys are training straight away. And then they'd have hard sessions, shower, whatever, maybe get some sun, and then it's like bang, you're locked in again at like 1:30 or whatever.
I think it's like that. That Joe Rogan said it, but it was a quote on his podcast. Tough times create hard men. Hard men create soft times create soft men. I think it's like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, now that I'm a ConFit Pathways mentor and I can see the difference, I go to Cobham and Baxter So Frank Baxter is up in Central Coast, and Cobham is here in St Mary's.
Yep.
And we run the same program. So we see the St Mary's boys on Thursday, Cobham boys on Thursday. We see the Frank Baxter boys on Friday. We run the same workout, but the Frank Baxter boys, they got a little bit harsher living environment up there. They don't get as much programs.
Yep.
Apparently the St Mary's boys get everything that they ever ask for, whatever they need. So it's like softer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
like,
you see a difference when you're running these programs.
I see a difference in their mentality and their mindset when they put in effort into the training. And I feel like environment, like harsher environment, just creates like more resilient men.
Wow.
Yeah. So like now like every time I have things easy, I go, nah, look for the hard route. Look for the hard route.
Yeah.
Because now I can physically see two different groups of guys, being completely different based off their environment.
Yeah, and it's affecting their mindset and their approach to the same program.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
like it's just like just the training, you know. Like I see these guys struggle so much more, and I feel like the Frank Baxter boys, they don't struggle as much just because their week is a struggle already.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
They're struggling all the time, so they're like, this is just another thing, you know.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
They're not thinking this is hard. They're just like it's more of the same shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but like don't get me wrong, they put in a lot of effort, like the Frank Baxter boys. So
Yeah.
props to them.
How did your parents take it when you, when you've got pinched, like, because I mean, you did 4 years, right? They must have, at some stage they must have just gotten used to the fact that you were going to be behind bars for a while, but it must have hit them pretty hard when it first happened.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck. That one was a tough one for me to even deal with myself because, like, my parents, they're very traditional and they're very concerned with, like, the way the Vietnamese community perceive them, even amongst, like, family and friends. And my mum never told anyone that I went to jail. She just kept it under covers. She told all my uncles that I had moved out with a girlfriend. So every time like my mum was like on like a Skype call or a video call with family, it's like, oh, they'd ask about me. Like, oh, he's moved out with his girlfriend. He'll be back. I don't know when he's back, but he'll be back. He'll come by here and there. And I think they kept it hidden from him for ages. For ages.
Until a few years have passed, like I've never. Where is this bloke?
Yeah, pretty much. And then
Is he still alive? We need proof of life. Yeah. What have you done to him? Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. But you know what? I think they know now because I have my uncles on social media and that.
I was gonna say, yeah. You got all this shit on fucking Instagram.
Yeah, and like I've seen my uncle like my Facebook story the other day. I'm like, oh, he must know.
He must. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know what? I couldn't handle seeing my mum in the first year because I was at Bathurst and I didn't want to make her travel like 3 hours there and then 3 hours back. So I told my mum to never come. But my mum kept hounding my mates to like come with them. And my mate's like, bro, what do you want us to do, man? Like your mum keeps asking to come, but like you told us not to bring her. You know?
Fuck.
Yeah, and I couldn't handle it. And I remember the first time I seen my mum, I was full bawling my eyes out. Because I felt like I let her down, and I felt like I felt the weight of embarrassment that she had for having her son in jail, and but it got easier after that. It got easier. Like this is that first time was like yeah.
That's something that opened my eyes was when I got arrested. Like I realized how selfish I'd been. In that, like, I thought, you know, if you do the crime, I'm prepared to do the time, but I didn't realize you don't do the time alone. You know that your people that love you do it with you.
Yeah.
And so I mean that's what it must have felt like when you see your mum and it's so hard. You're like, okay, fuck, like this is the impact I'm having on people that love me.
Yeah, and you know what? Because Bathurst was so far, I really felt the impact, but it made it a lot easier when I came back to Parkley and Windsor.
Yeah, of course.
And I think like they were so grateful for that too because they were like, oh, we only have to drive an hour.
Yep.
It's not like 3 hours anymore.
Yes.
And I think there's just perspective of like location and just the timing and just when you go as low as you can, it makes like the other hard times a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like coming back to Parkley and Windsor. I never thought I'd say that. But yeah.
But it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
For it to be closer to friends and family to be able to visit you, it's a huge effort to have to go out to Bathurst, 3 hours each way, and then like for an hour visit or something.
Yeah, or sometimes I remember one time a visits got cancelled because something happened in the jail, and and like,
So it's a long way to go for a no visit.
yeah,
right?
yeah, and it was just like, oh my god, like I felt bad. I felt really bad, and I was angry, but like, there's nothing you can do.
No, that's
Yeah.
the life. That's,
Yeah, it's just a part of it's my mistake, really. Like, yeah, you know, I'm the one who got locked up there, but like, you just get so frustrated at the world, and yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to stew on that kind of those negative feelings, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I felt that at times where I was like, this experience could either turn me into something much worse, or I can try and use those strong feelings and turn it into something good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like that's what I struggle with every day. You know, every time something happens, I just try to tell myself, turn it into something good, turn it into something good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's a strong feeling when you're feeling that negative feeling. Like I remember stewing on hate, just like friends and like, you know, my partner and people that had turned their back on me and things like that. Where I was just like, fuck, like this can either make me or break me, you know. And yeah, so I can't imagine what it feels like when you're doing 4 years. You'd have a lot of the time to have those kind of roller coaster of thoughts.
Yeah, and there was a time where I even questioned my relationship with certain people that I hadn't had seen throughout my 4 years. Like in my mind, I was like, you know how people say, "Oh, but you know who the real ones are when they come visit you and stuff." But I still held on to those relationships, and even when I got out, like I don't feel like I hold any bad negativity towards anyone.
Yep.
Because I think I'm just really grateful for where my life is at.
Yep.
There's no point holding on and being upset. Oh, but you didn't visit me, blah, blah, blah. Because my life's pretty good now.
Yep.
It's a lot better than what it used to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I had the same thing. There were guys who, some of my best mates who I contacted as soon as I got out. I thought they'd want to come see me. When I was under house arrest, I couldn't go anywhere. And some of my mates, first 48 hours, most of them came. But then some of my best mates never came.
Oh.
You know? Never came. And like, so yeah, that same thing. I could sit there and stew on that and be like, fuck this cunt, you know. But I was just like, you know what, the same as you. I'm like, hey, there's so many good things in my life right now and so many positives. So that just helped to clarify, you know, which friends to invest my energy and who hopefully will benefit when I turn into a success, you know.
It's already happening, bro. But I understand you completely because it's just like you want to be angry. You don't want to be angry, but you know it's a make or break point in your character development.
Yeah, you realize it's not worth it,
Yeah.
and there's just so much more things to be positive about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow. So the first couple of years you're in remand, and so which jails you were in?
I went to Bathurst first. So I came in at Silverwater.
Yep.
And then they shipped me off to Bathurst within the first week.
Yep.
I was shattered.
Yeah.
I was shattered about
I
Bathurst.
bet. Yeah. What does that feel like when you? Because I know that feeling when I was at Parkley when you get the knock on the door and saying you're getting
moved. You get tipped.
Yeah. It's you'd only been there for Silverwater for a week, and then you get the knock on the door, and they say you're on a truck. You're gonna. Did they tell you you're going to Bathurst or?
Yeah. So I think they gave me an option. I can't remember. Because so at first I was in the working wing with all the Asians. And I remember who I was talking to. Do you remember that guy you would have seen on TikTok all over the other day? That little short guy that was a cook, a meth cook.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. He was all over the news. When you said short guy, you meant like he was a proper, little man. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first
Do you know that guy?
Yeah, when I first went in, I was with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got locked up again.
Yeah, I know, he got locked up again.
Yeah. He was running a fucking meth lab or something.
I know. You know, it's unfortunate that sometimes that's all people know and that's all they go back to.
Yeah.
Now I'm very thankful that I chose a different path.
Yeah.
But like, so I remember I was in the working wing. I think it was sewing. Yeah, sewing. And I remember he was sitting on the phone and I got the call to say, go pack my shit that I was moving. And he's like to me, where you going? And I'm like, fuck, I think they told me Bathurst or Goulburn. And they're like, oh, bro. Nah. yeah, there's no boys up there, bro. You're going to have a great time. I'm like thinking, fuck, are you serious? And then I packed my stuff. I went down to the holding cells. And there was another Asian bloke there. And he was like to me, bro, you should have went to Goulburn. I put down for Goulburn. I'm like, oh, they both don't sound too good right now. But I don't know where Goulburn is.
They
and
both
I don't
sound like shit options.
I don't know where Goulburn and Bathurst is, but they don't both sound too great.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, it was just the worst truck drive too. I thought going on the truck from the holding cells in Penrith and Emu Plains to the jail was bad. Going all the way out to Bathurst is even worse.
Yeah.
And
long, uncomfortable trip.
like bro, those steel chairs.
Yeah.
Oh, and the tiny little window, and you're always looking at the window to try to guess where you are.
Yeah.
But you never really know anyway. So yeah, but you keep doing it. And I went to I remember I got to Bathurst that night, and they put me in a cell, and I had half a mattress.
What do you mean? Are we talking cut long ways, half a mattress, or short ways? You just got a square of a mattress.
I got a square of it.
You got a piece of square.
So back at Bathurst, there was no pillows. If you had a pillow, you were lucky.
Yeah.
So what boys used to do was they'll cut up mattresses
and
chuck it in the pillowcase. So I got thrown in the cell that night, and I had half a mattress.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is what I got to deal with. This is my life now.
It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, this is gonna be rough. I had a Lebo celly that night. It was, you know what? He made my time real good in the first couple of weeks. So I got to be thankful for that. But we had no TV, we had no kettle. It was just us and the walls.
What did he do to help you?
Yeah, he just talked to me.
Oh, yeah.
He just talked to me, and it just felt good to have someone like from the area that I was talking with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and then he eventually moved out into one of the other little boys' cells, and eventually I found like an Asian celly that had a TV. Oh, thank God for that. Yeah, so
It's tough when you got no TV makes such a difference just to distracting your mind.
it does,
Yeah.
because at night time you're locked in and you're like, fuck, I've got another 6 hours before I fall asleep. What can I do? There's no radio, and then like if you have no paper and you have no buy-up, you got no paper and pen to even write anything or any letters or draw, nothing. You got nothing.
Yep.
You're literally just sitting in your own mind, and
Yep.
I think that was like very, I wouldn't say therapeutic, but yeah, therapeutic in a way. Like that was therapy for me.
That was the worst time for me was quarantine where I was in there for 2 weeks, no TV, I had no books. It took me like a week and a half just to get a pencil and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So you realize when you're stuck in your own thoughts and you're in a bad mindset, it's a shit place to be, you know? When you've like literally got no escape from your own thoughts. And then you get a TV and suddenly there's anything to watch, even ads. You're like, just something to distract my brain so I don't have to listen to my bloody thoughts saying you fucked it, you fucked your life, you're in prison, you're a piece of shit. You know? You're like, man, get out of my head.
Oh, bro. Oh, yeah. Those thoughts, man. Those thoughts, like, what am I going to do when I get out? Like, I remember asking myself that question like at least 50 times a day. What am I going to do when I get out? You don't even know if you're getting out.
Yeah. That's a luxury right now, buddy. Yeah.
But you don't even have a TV or a kettle, bro. Worry about that first.
Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. Trying to make the jail experience better before I worry about getting out into the real world.
Yeah, you don't even have any phone numbers on your phone yet. Why are you asking yourself when you get out?
Yeah, that's another thing. You know, I when I'd first put numbers on my phone, I hadn't realized you had to put like the area code. So I just put like just my home phone, just 98, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just calling out to fucking God knows where, but it wasn't calling my family. So I thought the phone was ringing. I was like, why is no one answering ever? And then it took me like a couple of weeks to realize that like I'd screwed up the phones.
Was that a Sydney number?
Yeah.
No, things must have changed between my time and your time.
Yeah, okay, because that was at Parklea and their system. Yeah, it must be like a national system.
Yeah.
So if you don't put the area code in, it just I don't know what it does, but it doesn't call your family.
It's pure.
Yeah.
What about 04? Did you have to put like 614?
No, it was just 04.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, but at first I didn't have any other. I when I got arrested, like there's obviously guys that are good at jail and ready to go. Like, like they know how to hit the ground running. As soon as they get locked up, I had no idea. I had to figure out everything from scratch. So I only had like my missus at the time. Her number was about the only number I knew off the top of my head. So then I had to like get her number added, which took ages to then get her to get me other numbers that I could write down, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like it's a painful process, like just starting to build out a phone list.
I think I did the same. I don't think I remembered any number but my own home phone number, and I was dreading calling my mum. I was real dreading calling my mum.
Of course you would be, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even call my mum. I just waited for the first letter to come in.
Oh,
and then,
shit.
yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, man, that must have been a hard first letter.
Oh, yeah, it was. You know what? I still have all my jail letters.
Do you? Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I haven't gone through them, but I still have them all. No, I might go from tonight.
I mean, it means a lot, right?
Yeah.
When you're in there, getting a letter is so exciting. And then it's just, it's such a touching thing to read from friends and family that have taken the time to write to you.
Yeah.
It's such a simple thing, but yeah, in there, like such little things mean the world.
Even just a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a photo in the letter meant a lot.
Yeah.
I remember like, I used to put all my photos on the wall.
What were they photos of?
Just like my friends' lives and my past life.
Yeah.
You know, just good memories. And I just used to think,
My mum sent me all these photos of me, and I'm like, well, I look like the biggest weirdo putting photos of myself up on a wall. My celly be like, "Well, you obsessed with yourself?" Like, but I think she wanted like to show me like, you know, the man that I used to be and I could be again. I think that was the kind of the idea of it. But I look like
they were selfies.
Yeah, essentially selfies, just weird, just a collection of photos of just like me wearing a suit or something. And I'm like, what? Yeah,
I didn't put those photos up.
I could never put those. I never did put those up. No way. No, I put the photos of my dogs up, but no, not the ones of me.
That would have been cracker.
Why you got so many photos of yourself on the wall, you weirdo? Yeah.
But yeah, man. So yeah, that was my time at Bathurst, and I kind of learned the hard way that I kind of learned to do. I guess now I'm thankful for it. That I did my jail so hard at the beginning, but I couldn't imagine like doing COVID because my colleague at the time, he got out after we both got out, and then he went back in to do time during your time, and he told me all the stories about COVID, and he told me jail is 10 times worse during COVID.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine what you went through, bro. It would have been the horrors.
Well, I got lucky. Like the worst I got was like just being locked in for like 10 days at a time and having to like shower in your sink and whatever. But there were guys I know that at Silverwater, and there was guys at Parklea that had outbreaks where they were stuck in their cell for like 30, 40 days straight, you know, and that it has a major impact on your mental health.
Oh, bro, I could only imagine, and you got nothing to distract yourself if you're coming in.
Yeah. So that would be, it was hard, but I had nothing to compare it to. So that was just my experience from fucking day one because I was in there during COVID. But it was certainly the first 2 weeks without a TV. Then getting a TV, like, oh my god, this makes such a difference just to quieten the
noise,
the head noise.
But you know, I really fell in love with all the old TV shows that I grew up watching.
Like what?
Seinfeld.
Yeah, classic.
Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Friends.
Yeah.
They had double episode of Friends at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. That was always good. Yeah, I used to watch that. I love watching game shows.
Yeah.
What else did you watch?
I didn't watch Home and Away.
I was gonna ask if you got into the Home and Away.
I couldn't do it. I don't know why I couldn't do it.
Simpsons. I
love to watch Simpsons.
Yeah.
Any of the sitcoms I was watching. If Rules of Engagement was on, if Becca was on, I'd still watch that because I remember when I was growing up, I was watching that too.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I used to just love watching like sitcoms all night.
I found it hard to watch. I had a celly that liked to watch Bondi Rescue, and it was just I hated watching people like at the beach, like and free, being happy. You know, like I didn't want to be reminded of that. I'd rather watch people I'd rather watch SAS. You know, where people are getting like tortured and set on fire and like having. I'm like, okay, that sounds more like, it reminds me of my current living situation, you know?
Like, I'm not doing as bad as him.
Right.
He's struggling more than me.
Yeah. He's crawling on his chest through a tunnel while he's drowning. Yeah, that feels a lot better to watch that.
Did you ever get a celly that watched like border security in that?
Yeah, sometimes. One celly loved to watch Home and Away and Border Security and Bondi Rescue, and I had to move cells pretty quick. Why?
I used to be like, Bro, doesn't that give you PTSD?
Yeah.
Does it, like, I get like
People sweating with their drugs, sign, you know.
I used to get so much anxiety just looking at them. I'm like, I need to go. I need to go do something else.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch it either.
Like right now, like even when I see border security, I go, nah.
Not for me.
Yeah, you know,
Flashbacks.
during COVID, during lockdown, my girlfriend at the time, she started watching Prison Break again, and that's full of suspense. And I used to just get like so much anxiety watching, like, you know, like when they're trying to escape the prison and the guards are like right around the corner. Like my heart rate used to go through the roof for some reason. I couldn't understand why. Like, I just didn't.
It's just triggering you in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't watch anything to do with that.
Oh, really?
I needed to watch like comedy.
Oh, that's funny because I would have watched Shawshank about 6 times in jail. And I loved it every time.
Shawshank isn't too bad.
So you were in jail for 4 years. What was the time? So when you started to really hit the training in there? When did that kind of turning point happen?
So I always knew that I was going to go to Oberon.
Yep.
So when I was at Bathurst, Parkley and Windsor, because I've been around all the boys and the boys have done time, they always told me, oh, you know, you're still young, Andrew. You're probably going to get sent to Oberon when you get
Classo.
Yeah, classoed or sentenced. And I thought, all right, cool, you know. And they're like, yeah, trust me, Oberon's good. You get meat buy up, you get to buy eggs, all these great things.
So did you put in a request for Oberon?
Nah, I didn't put in a request. But so when I got sentenced, like just before I got sentenced, I thought, all right, if I'm gonna go to Oberon, I'm gonna have to start training when I get there, because if they're gonna give me protein and meat buy up, like eggs and that, I might as well make the most of my time when I'm there. So I have to start dieting when I get there. So I always told myself mentally that I'm gonna start when I get there. And then got sentenced. I remember sitting there getting classoed. The officers like to me, so where do you want to go? And I go, I asked for Windsor first. And they go, hey, you can't really go to Windsor. Too many people there. Not enough beds. And then they said, do you want to go to Oberon? And I go, oh, yeah. I mean, don't want to, but I guess so. I don't want to be further away from my family again.
Yeah.
Because I just spent the last year at Parkley and Windsor, and that was great for seeing my family.
Yep. They could visit you easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Oberon's back to Bathurst, three hours away. I go, I don't really want to be far, but they're like, look, you go out there, you do the young offenders program, you come back with your C3, you'll be close to family again. I go, all right, whatever, put me on the truck.
So how long are they saying that you'd have to go to the young offenders program? How long were they saying you'd be in Oberon for? A year?
So here's the funny thing: the program only goes for 4 months.
Oh, okay.
It's a real short, quick program. You can go up there, get your C3, and come back. But the problem is, because it's such a small jail, like 100 boys, and there's a high turnover. But what the jail does is, if you're not getting into mischief up there and you're not getting into trouble, they try to keep you at the jail. They don't let you go. Yeah, every time you go to ask to get classoed, they're like, yeah, nah, we'll think about it. And then I kept trying to leave, and
They don't want to disturb the status quo. If it's working, we want the guys that are here doing good to stay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they didn't let me go, and then I just kept putting my request form to go back to Sydney, because I wanted to start working, because I got my C3. Finally got my C3. I need to go back to Sydney to work to make some proper money, and then they finally let me go. But rewinding.
How long had that been?
That had been just over a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just over a year. But just to rewind, so as soon as I got back to, as soon as I got sent to Oberon, and I remember it was like a different chapter in my life, because you're out in the farms, and I'm like, this is a jail?
Yeah, they got low fences, right? Or no fences. Yeah.
And it was like fresh air.
Yeah.
Like you're in the middle of nowhere, you're the fresh air, there's green trees everywhere.
Yeah.
And the sun was bright. And I remember sitting outside the unit, I'm like, I could sit here all day.
Yeah.
And like you just look outside past the fence and past the unit, and it'd be like paddocks, and you'd see farm animals. Like, wow, this is not jail, but this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I remember I got settled into my unit, and there's this thing where like you know, all the cultures, all the nationalities, like they kind of look after their own.
Yep.
So all the Asian boys went around to the different wings, to the other Asian boys, put together a bunch of like buy up stuff, and then they'd come like, hey bro, how you doing? Introduce themselves, and then they're like, yeah bro, here's some food if you need it. we're the Asian boys or whatever. And then, yeah, I remember getting to know some of the boys. And then as soon as he gave the food, he went outside to train again. And I remember seeing like through the window, this guy was pumping out like 50 dips in a row.
And you're like, this guy's a machine.
Yeah, I'm thinking, fuck, this guy's a machine. I don't like the way he trains because at the time I was like, when I was at Bathurst, the boys tried to get me to train, and I didn't like the idea of calisthenics training. I thought, fuck this. I'll just wait until I get out and I'll do weights. I'll get big by doing weights. That was my what I knew. I didn't think that calisthenics could get you big. But at the time when I got to Oban, I thought, you know what, man, I need to get into this mindset of training. Doesn't matter what style of training it is.
Just do something, move your body.
Yeah, I need to do something. And I go, you know, I want to train as hard as that guy. Might not like his training style, but I'll just train with him.
Yep.
And then fast forward, I started training with him. And then I realized that I was getting results. Boys were like to me, bro, you're looking good, man. Your abs are starting to show. You're starting to get a big chest. Like, bro, keep going, keep it up. And I thought, oh, this shit actually works.
Yeah. and you were feeling stronger?
Yeah. I was feeling stronger. I was feeling lighter, a lot more fitter.
Yeah.
And I was looking really good. I'm like, fuck, this shit actually works.
Yeah.
Okay. Calisthenics is all right.
So
I used to think like bodybuilding style training was the only way to do things.
Yep. Oh, well, it's good that you decided to get off your ass and just give it a try, right?
Yeah. Oh, like I was in a world of pain when I did try. Like I remember I threw up one time too, and it was literally like just a burpee workout too.
Fuck.
That's
horrible.
I literally just threw up, but I remember telling myself, look, just got to do this for the next year and a bit, 2 years, and I'll look like a weapon when I get out. So just hang in there. So I had the mindset to just keep going no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think it was because I knew I was getting out. So I think that made all the difference.
Was there a point at that stage where you started to think, okay, I'm enjoying doing this, I'm getting results, this is something that I feel strongly about that could be a career when I get out?
No.
No?
No. I never thought about being a PT getting out. I just always thought, you know what, I'm always going to train and never be fat. And when I got out, like just before I got out, all my friends were always asking me, man, what are you going to do with your life? Now that you're getting out, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? And I thought I was going to go to a regular construction job or pickpacking job.
Yeah.
I got out, I tried construction for a bit, and I realized the travel was too far from me from Western Sydney on all the job sites. And that was just taking too much out of my day. Then I went to go get a job pickpacking at Audi. And then because I was working on a team, and I'm a very like what's that word? I like to get results. I like to always like compete in a way. But I also wanted to get out on time too. So because I'm coming from a mindset where time is very important, I don't want to do what's that called? Overtime. Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to do overtime too often, even if I'm getting paid more. Like this is my schedule. I'm getting out.
Get in, get out.
Yeah,
get the job done. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go train. If our team has to pick 10,000 units tonight, we're picking 10,000 units in our 6 hours. But half the team wanted to be lazy and just, get that overtime, stay back later, and just pick slow.
So I didn't have that work ethic.
Yeah, but they wanted the overtime. I can understand they wanted the overtime, but like I got things to do. I got to go gym. I got to train, and that was just driving me insane. Like I ended up being very bitter towards people, and just like in my mind, I was just like, look at this fuckwit. Look at this fucking lazy cunt. Look at this piece of shit. I just became very hateful and angry, and I thought, I got to get out of here. I got to go do my own shit. But at the same time, when I was working pickpacketing, people were still asking me to train them because I was still training the way I used to. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should go get my qualifications. So if I'm training someone, at least I can get paid for it because I'm qualified.
Yep.
And then I thought, I'll go into the fitness industry and I'll get my certifications. At least if it doesn't work out, I still got my job at Audi. I'm still working here. No harm done.
Yep.
And I inquired this with a close friend of mine at the time. He's still my close friend, actually. I remember talking to him and I had this conversation because I kind of like ask for guidance or advice. I go, bro, what do you think? Like I want to get my PT license. I want to be a PT, eh? And my mate was like to me, look, bro, I don't know if it's good for you because like if you're not someone already established in the industry, I don't think you're going to make that much. And it was kind of like disbelief and doubt And I was kind of like, oh,
How did you take that? Did you find that discouraging? Did it stop you from wanting to do it?
I didn't find it discouraging. I was kind of more annoyed
Yeah.
because I go, you know what? Like I look at all like in my community, I looked at all the coaches that were around. Like I can fucking do what any of these cunts can do. I can do it even better. You know, I had the drive and the fire in me, but I was just annoyed that my friend was being discouraging.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then I thought, you know what? Fuck the disbelief. I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Yep.
So I went to go get qualified, and I wouldn't say I'm the best PT in the area now, but I'd say like I'm up there. I'm well known in what I do. And just to rewind a little bit, I got qualified and I came at the top of my class too. Came at the top of my class, I got my certs, and then I was running morning classes. So what I used to do was, you know, this is when I kind of really dug deep and I gave away a lot of sleep. So I would work from 6 p.m. to midnight, but most of the time it would go into like 3 a.m.
What work are you doing at
Audi.
Oh,
I'm still working at Audi.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And then I'd get home at maybe 3 to 4 in the morning. And then I'd have to be up by 7 a.m. So 3-4 hours of sleep to get to class at Parramatta at 9 a.m.
Oh man, that sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
For a good 4 months. And then class wouldn't finish till 4 p.m. As soon as 4 p.m. would finish,
I'd be falling asleep in class.
I'd go straight back to work from 4 p.m. to work. So I literally sacrificed a lot of time.
But you're like, this is the way I just have to suffer for a few months just to get this done because I feel driven.
Yeah.
But you're obviously, you talked about studying before. I mean, you failed year 12, right?
Yeah.
But now you're studying and you came top of your class because you're studying something that you had a really active interest in.
I think that's what it is, yeah. And I feel like, you know, once you find something that really like drives you and you find interest in it, because at the same time, I think I would have learned a lot more if I wasn't falling asleep half the time.
Yep.
I was genuinely trying my best to stay awake and absorb as much information as I can, but I couldn't help just nodding off because I was just lack of sleep.
Yeah. What was your relationship with your parents at this stage? You know, you're out and you're working and you're doing things to drive yourself. Were they happy to see you?
Yeah, I think my mum was really happy. Like she was just, as long as my son's not going to jail, as long as my son's making good money and he's keeping like clean, and out of jail, I think she was like over the moon about that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like she's really supportive of you.
Well, because she was happy about that, she kept nagging me about finding a partner. So one thing solved, but another problem is still there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very happy you're no longer a criminal, but I still want to be a grandma soon. So hurry up.
Yeah, basically that's what she was saying to me half the time, and she was always just like scoping out the girls that I was bringing home. She's like, "You're gonna keep her around? You're gonna keep her around? I like this one. I don't like this one. I like this one." So she was always like kind of like, I wouldn't say involved in my relationships, but she always had her 2 cents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was, when was that? That's when I kind of got in contact with Joe, because I seen that was me starting at my fitness career, and Joe had already established his boot camp.
Yep.
And then as the years went on, I kind of became a more established PT. And then I saw Joe start his the ConFit stuff inside the juvies, and I thought it was like the perfect timing. I remember it was like close to New Year's. He released his first video of like what he'd done inside, and I thought, like, I was looking for like a purpose in my life, like around New Year's. And I'm like, surely there's more to just being a coach. You know, I need to do something else. And I saw that, and I messaged Joe straight. I go, "But Joe, please, I want to be part of the team. I want to help." And
And what did he say?
he goes, "Yeah, come down." He's like, "Yeah, come down next week.
Great.
I'll see you there."
And how long you guys been working together now?
I'd say 2 to 3 years now.
Yeah, great. And what was that first experience for you like, going into a juvie the first time?
You know what? Everyone has the same experience, eh?
What's that?
The first one is like it was food for the soul. It felt like it was food for the soul. Like every time you walk out, like now every time I walk out, it's the same. But that first time I walked out, it was like my soul felt so light. Like I felt like I was finally doing something that was right.
Yeah. What was it about it that made it feel that way?
I think it was just like when I went inside and I met the kids, I just saw myself. I saw myself, and it was like I finally, like, I never had siblings, but I wish I had myself now as an older brother to guide me when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh, I can finally, give these kids, I can finally like do that, but I'll be the older brother. Yeah.
I've heard Joe talk about this as well, but it'd be interesting to get your thoughts. So, do you think that these kids listen to you guys more because they know that you walk the walk, that you share that lived experience? You've done jail, and now you're decided to try and do something more positive with your life?
Yes, I think it's more so like, I think every man at some stage in their life looks for a purpose. And when they look for a purpose, they look for a mentor to guide them there. Like right now, like I'm trying to excel and like 10x my personal training business, but I'm looking for the right mentor in that field. And same thing with the kids, they're just looking for a purpose. And when they find their purpose and they like training and all of that, they kind of look for someone to mentor them to get there.
Yep.
And, and I think like the criminal aspect of like, we understand what they're going through, but there's hope on the other side of the tunnel. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's what they really, they appreciate. They appreciate that, we've done the time, we understand what they're going through, and that they can really turn their lives around. Because we always show them, like we always talk about like the lessons that we learn in jail and the story behind it, and they really absorb it. I don't know how else to put this. Because it's like their teachers will tell them the same thing. We're literally selling the same product, but it's a different shop front. Yeah. And that's all it is.
And yeah, exactly. And do you think because it comes from a shop front of, hey, I've been there, I've walked in your shoes, that it resonates more?
Yeah, I think it's just, because like, I feel like it just resonates because I think they're so used to following the glorified rappers and they see that criminal lifestyle as cool. But yeah, it is cool. It is cool to a certain degree, but there's more important things in life than being cool. There's responsibility, there's family, and all of them, they all cherish their families. Well, they need to prioritize that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever chat to guys and just think this guy's not going to listen to anyone, like he's just falling on deaf ears?
If I have to be honest, bro.
Yeah.
If I have to be honest, look, over the last 3 years of dealing with hanging out with these kids and training with them, some of them, I think, not some of them, there's a very small minority that I think are completely lost causes, but they're not lost causes in the sense that we can help them in the short term.
Yeah.
I think they're lost causes. Yeah, they're lost causes that we can't help them in the short term, but these lessons that we're giving them, they might realize it maybe 5, maybe 10 years later.
That's right. It may well be they're just not ready to listen to what you're selling, right? This message is just that they need to go through some more failure and misery and maybe some more jail time before they finally go, oh, you know what, I'm ready to think about other shit now.
Well, that's unfortunate. As human beings, sometimes we have to learn through the hard way.
100%.
Yeah.
There's things that someone could have told me, particularly when I was active in crime, right?
Yeah.
Where someone could have tried to lecture me and I wouldn't listen to it. You had to go through the shit yourself, have it all fall apart for you to. Sometimes it's a costly lesson, but one you have to walk that path yourself because you're not going to listen to it from someone else.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I learned the hard way. I had to do my time.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way, and I always tell the boys. The difference between a smart man and a wise man is a smart man will learn from his problems. Smart man will learn from his mistakes. A wise man will learn from someone else's mistakes. And I always tell the boys, look, bro, you guys have the opportunity to be wise. I'm not saying that you're going to be wise, okay?
Yeah.
But if you choose to be wise, you will learn from our mistakes.
I don't feel by that definition, I wouldn't say that I'm wise. I'd say maybe I'm smart, but
okay, look, there's still a chance to be intelligent. You can still be smart if you're not wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how often do you guys go into the juvies now?
It would range between 2 to 3 times a week. Right now, it's twice a week.
Yep.
We would also, from time to time, would run a program inside like a behavioral school.
Yep.
Or I would guest appear into another program that visits the school.
Yep.
But at least twice for the juvies.
Yeah. Wow.
And then during the school holidays, we'll go to like the regional ones. So out in Dubbo and Wagga.
And on the flip side of, obviously, there's guys who you speak to and you think, fuck, this is falling on deaf ears right now. They're not ready to hear this message. Then there's obviously guys on the flip side of that who you see and think this guy is ready to turn his life around. People like, obviously, Kaiser, right, is an example of someone who's come through doing these programs with you from when he was in juvie.
Yep.
That must be heartening when you see guys, you're like, okay, we're actually making a positive impact because this guy's going to... his path is becoming better because of us. Yeah.
You know what? It's not like in that moment that you kind of know too. There's been times where I've came back to the juvie and I've gone around to the different wings and I've run into the boys who have done our program before and they'll tell me, like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I seen this kid and he dropped like 15 kilos. And he was like, look, bro, I want to say thank you for that one talk that you gave us all those weeks ago where it was something so simple too. I literally just, like, when I talk to the kids, I'm not yelling at them. Like, I kind of use like an aggressive voice, but I'm not really yelling at them. I'm just trying to get my point across.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I don't say it from a place of hate or anger. I'm telling you guys from a place of love.
Yeah.
Like an older brother love. And then he said to me, you told me, bro, if you fucking want it, if you actually want it, you'll go and get it. Otherwise, you don't fucking want it at all.
Yeah.
And I'll tell it to him, like, the truth, the most honest way I can. And then it kind of flipped a switch in his brain for him to drop weight. Wow. And he was like, but I'll never forget that conversation like that you spoke to us about. And he was like to me, he used to tell me, but I couldn't even do 5 push-ups before. Now I can do 30 straight.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's just those small moments. Like, sometimes I don't even know, like, how much, I forget how much weight my words have with these kids.
Yeah.
But it's just continually trying to get the message across. Whoever does take it on board will take it on board.
It must make you, like, when you stop and look back at like where you've come from, right, and now what you're doing now, to feel so good that you can have such a positive impact in the world around you, particularly after, there was a time when you were sitting in a jail cell thinking, fuck, what am I going to do with my life? Like, this is a mess, and now you get to do all these cool, good things and feel like you're doing great stuff. Do you ever just take time to just appreciate that about yourself?
Yeah, I do every now and then. Like, I'll never forget, there was a point when I was at Oberon, and because in Oberon, the 4-month program, you have to do these camps where it's like military style, a tarp on your bag, a tarp with your backpack, 20 kilos, your food and water, ugly ass boots. We're walking all day for the next 2-3 days. One of the nights, I remember this, and because it was my 25th birthday at midnight, and I remember sitting around the campfire, and I was kind of having a quarter life crisis. I was stressing out. I was like, man, the quarter of my life, I hadn't started training yet.
Yep.
Okay, I had a quarter life crisis, and I kept asking myself, what am I doing with my life? I have nothing when I get out. The cops took everything. I have no girlfriend. I have no partner. All my mates are getting married. They got kids. They're engaged, starting a business. All these things that normal people do in their adult life, all my mates were starting to go through those milestones. And I was stuck here with nothing to show. I'm not even fit. I'm not even healthy. I literally had nothing going in my life. What's going to happen to me when I get out? Am I just going to be a nobody? And I remember like being caught up in my own thoughts because I was stressing out about my timeline. And now fast forward, that was me when I was 25. Now I'm 31, 32.
Shit, you tell me.
I think I'm 32. I turned 32 this year.
Yep.
I turned 32 this year. That's right. I stopped counting after 30. That's right.
Yeah.
But fast forward 6-7 years, and I don't know why I was stressing so much about that 5-6 years ago, when my life has gotten better and better as the years have gone by. I just had to put in the work. Yeah, so I do take time to appreciate, to answer your question. And I do take time to look back at when I was the lowest too, to just be grateful for where I am now.
What's your relationship like with your parents now? They must be pretty proud, I guess, of like what the stuff you get to do, and that you are having a positive impact around you.
So, because my mum speaks mainly Vietnamese, I don't exactly tell her everything I do. She understands bits and pieces. The more she only really cares about like the mortgage and paying the house off, and like if I gave her money that week or not. Like those are the main things she's worried about. She's more worried about like when she's gonna get grandkids, really.
Yeah.
But I'm doing all these other big things. The grandkids have to wait.
Yeah. You're busy turning yourself into a success. So I mean, yeah, where's next for you? What you're talking about? You know, this trajectory from when you were 25, and things have been getting better and better over the last 7 years. So what's kind of, where do you want to go from here?
So I'll start with the ConFit team. I don't know if Joe told you we're going to open up a gym.
Yes.
Yeah. That's hopefully in October. That's the first established ConFit gym, a community where, you know, we can bring all the kids. Because right now, like, our biggest obstacle, I'd say, is we create great relationships with the kids when we're training with them in the juvie.
Yep.
And they get out, they want to link up with us, but we don't have like a base to bring them at.
Yeah,
like, I'm just sneaking them into my gym. I'm just like, hey boys, come down, come train with me.
There's no fixed location.
Yeah.
So it's hard to keep an eye on and have that positive relationship afterwards. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it's just whenever I'm free in between clients too, and it's kind of all over the place. So that is like the first goal and the first stepping stone, just to get that started, so I can have a bigger impact with the kids when they get out. It's a place for them to just outlet, train, you know. The other thing that I'm doing on the side is just really focusing on my online coaching and my business and my brand as an online coach, because I love coaching, but I really want to, like, when I see all these other successful coaches go big and make like millions of dollars, in my mind it triggers me, because it says, but why can't you do this? Why are these guys all achieving it? Why can't you do it? You know, you should be able to do it. You have enough work rate. And it's not always the smartest person that makes the most money. It's the one that works the hardest sometimes, but working smart and hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's just about getting that balance right and using those other people as a motivation without being too hard on yourself.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You've also got to celebrate, you know, where you are, right?
Yeah, of course. But like, I guess that's like a driving factor, because when I was in jail, I think one of my main driving factors to be fit was being competitive. I used to look in the yard and I used to see like guys doing muscle ups. I go, fuck, I gotta do muscle up. You know what? If he can do it, I can do it. And that was always my driving factor. And then I'd see guys hit like burpees on like, I don't know, like 100 burpees in under 5 minutes. And I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna try. I have to do it. If he can do it, I can do it. You know, that was always me. Like, if someone else can do it, I should be able to do it too. Because I read a quote the other day. You know, all men are the same. The only difference is their self-belief. That is the defining factor, and I think I got to believe in myself more.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got that competitive spirit, or there's something in you that you can use as a fuel to spur you on, right?
Yeah. Well, it's always given me like positives when I was competing with all the boys in the yard, and it wasn't like negative competition either. It was always positive competition. It's like, oh, like, if I got a better time than my Coley would try to beat me.
But it brings out the best in you.
Yeah, it does. It does. I remember when me and my Coley were trying to get our first muscle up, we were competing. We weren't competing, we were trying to do it together. And then I got my first muscle up, and then he got 3 in a row. And then I went 5, and then he got 7, and then we just kept trying to top each other. So, yeah.
And by the end, it's just two really jacked dudes doing 100 muscle-ups each.
By the end of it, it was just like, and then like it was positive competition, really. So, yeah, I've always looked at like being competitive as like in a positive way.
Yep. But are you happy? Are you happy now with your life?
I would say I'm happy. I'd say look, if I'm not dying and all of that, I'm saying I'm happy. Yeah, I'd say I'm very happy.
Like a lot of people I have on this podcast, right? I talk about the fact that you wouldn't be doing the positive things you're able to do now if it didn't go to shit. If you didn't go to jail, where would you be? You know, you'd probably be still selling drugs, maybe
exactly
unfit, living some miserable life.
Well, yeah, the way I want to look at it is you know, in an alternate reality.
Mm.
Let's say my colleague got back that day and cleared the house.
Yep. Yeah, what does that look like?
In an alternate reality, I probably would have got scared. I probably would have went to uni, finished my uni degree, probably would have been a primary school teacher. But overweight, unhealthy habits, always distracted on my phone.
And doing a job that you didn't really love.
Yeah, I would have been lost. I would have been more lost in the world, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's weird how sometimes we just need the shit to hit the fan.
Yeah, shit to go sideways.
Well, brother, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story. And I look forward to coming and checking out the gym when you guys open it. Is it in Parramatta? Is that what is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, Parramatta, guys. Check it out. Parramatta. ConFit Gym.
Yes. Well, Andrew, thanks very much for coming on Shit's Gone Sideways.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.